time of being raised in the 1940s, everything was hush-hush of what went on at home. Because if you had something wrong with you, everyone felt like maybe you needed to be in a mental hospital, and maybe rightfully so on some of these things in the story I'm going to tell you. But the shame that your family could feel was just unbearable. So if anything, she always would teach me fake it till you make it type of thing, which is fine. But I also kind of grew up that we didn't talk about the hard stuff. We wanted people to think our family was kind of perfect. And now that she's older, she realizes the wisdom of letting it out. So I have permission for this story as well. So I want to first introduce you to my aunts. You're going to just love these names. This was my Aunt Leah, my Aunt Marzine, my Aunt Lola, my Aunt Arva, and my mom, Gloria. Great names, huh? Let's bring back those awesome names. But these are 5 of the most wonderful women I've ever known in my life. But growing up in Grantsville, they did have a bus taking them to school because the town was pretty, the homes were spread out. And so she remembers getting on a bus and going to school, and then she would just cry all day. And the principal would often call home and say, "You've got to come get Gloria. We can't get her to stop crying." They'd often call my Aunt Leah, who worked there as a secretary, and she tried to console my mom. But they didn't know why my mom was crying all day. And this will be a little bit of a trigger warning. My grandma, Green, my mom's mom, suffered from severe depression, so much so, on different occasions she would try to take her life, and the kids knew it, because she would tell them what she was about to do. So my mom was always scared that when she went home, her mom wouldn't be there. Here's an even sadder part of this story, is my mom didn't tell anyone this story until about 5 years ago. Kept everything inside. And I thought, oh my goodness, that she had to harbor that, being raised scared, and the shame that they felt for that, for somebody else's actions that's not really in their control. So when we talk about letting go of some of these hard emotions, I'm not saying let it go from ever. Learn from them. What can we do better? And I feel like we are doing better as a society now, recognizing things happen, and let's talk about the hard stuff. Let's do this. We all have our story. I just thought this was the cutest little picture of my mom. Okay, number 4, make a plan, and then I had to add this part. So this is just the philosophy according to me. And expect miracles. Expect miracles. I love that phrase. So what it is hope cannot replace planning. Being realistic with your obstacles. And so, of course I did a little, Ted Lasso soccer thing over here. But when we plan to fail, some people say, well, you failed to plan. Yeah, that's totally true. But I think we also forget to expect that miracle. Expect your success, that you can succeed in doing the hard stuff, overcoming that obstacle, making the tough decisions, right? Sometimes we have to be the adult in the room and do things that aren't so fun all of the time, but we can do this. We've got this. And so that's number 4, make a plan and expect miracles. So when I was about the age of 14, I was such a stinker growing up. I was kind of a little bit of a rebellious soul. And my mom kind of struggled with that. Again, appearances were very important in my family. And I think I was kind of ruining that little reputation they'd been trying to build. And I went home one day and I looked on my pillow. There was a piece of paper on my pillow. And on it, my mom had typed up a poem called "The Ambulance Down in the Valley." Now back then, guess what? We didn't have computers and laptops. We had typewriters. We didn't even have an electric typewriter. We had the blink, blink, blink typewriter. Anyone remember those? That's where I learned to type, was on those. And so if you made a mistake, when you typed something, you had to scroll it up, figure out where the mistake is, and what did we put to correct the mistake? Who remembers? Whiteout. We put whiteout on it, and then what do we have to do? Blow on it, wait for it to dry, and then scroll it back down, and hopefully we got the right spot to hit like the D again, and hopefully it wasn't too high or too low. So when I saw this on my pillow, I knew my mom had taken a lot of time, and this was her message, was clear. But see, she didn't have the words so much to tell me, so she would often write. She'd always write these little poems, and still does to this day. This poem wasn't written by her, but it was typed by her. She must have read it somewhere, like in her guidepost and her Reader's Digest, she still gets. and I memorized most of this poem. I'm going to share it with you today, so I'm hoping I don't mess it up too much. The ambulance down in the valley. Okay. 'Twas a dangerous cliff, as they freely confessed, though to walk near its crest was so pleasant. But over its terrible edge there had slipped a prince, a duke, and full many a peasant. So the people said something has to be done. But their projects did not all tally. Some said, put a fence around the edge of the cliff. And others said, put an ambulance down in the valley. But the cry for the ambulance carried the day and spread to the neighboring city. For a fence is useful, or not, it is true, and each heart became full of pity. For those who had slipped over the terrible cliff, and dweller in highway and alley gave pound and gave pence, not to put up the fence, but the ambulance down in the valley. For the cliff is all right if you're careful, they said. And if folks even slip and are dropping, it's not the slipping that hurts them so much as the shock down below as they're stopping. So day after day, quick forth did rescuer Sally to pick up the victims who fell off the cliff with their ambulance down in the valley. So that was the poem. My mom was teaching me about prevention and things that we can do and steps that we can take in life. So you can take that poem any way you want, but it's an old poem written in the 1800s, I think like 1896, something like that, but you can look it up. So this has meant a lot to me. Does anyone know the wooden spoon principle? Tell me, Heather. I knew you would know. How did I know this?
If you put a boil, or if you're trying to boil water and you put a spoon over it, it won't boil over.
Do you know why?
I don't know why.
Okay.
I know it works. I tried it.
Yes. Has anyone else tried this? You've heard this? Okay. And it does work. I've even got boiling water just going crazy and it's going up all the sides of the spoon, but it still doesn't go over. So the reason it works is that wood absorbs moisture, but not heat. It doesn't boil up. Interesting, right? Now, the studies that I read is, well, not even a study, just like a little, article. If it's long enough, eventually it could boil over, but it takes a lot to get it to boil over. And I thought, how interesting to adopt like the wooden spoon principle, saying, yep, things are going to be heating up around you. You might even feel that heat, but we could absorb the goodness, you see what you're trying to do here, absorb the water, the goodness, and maybe repel that heat. Just say you could be in the middle of the muck, the middle of an argument, the middle of everything, but you don't have to be consumed by it. And so we've got, at the end of the presentation, each of you are going to get your own little wooden spoon. I know we have to be really cutesy like that. I have to make things fun, right? So that'll be kind of fun, something there. But that's the wooden spoon principle. Okay, step number 5. Easy decision making. In this world that we live in, we have so many things coming at our faces. You go into Costco, what do I choose? Oh, I choose everything. I came in to buy a gallon of milk and with $500. It used to be the $100 store, now it's like the $500 store. But we have so many choices, especially at our fingertips with our phones and our electronics. And that can be overwhelming. And sometimes they're seeing that can be involved in anger, not just anger, depression, anxiety. Too much stimulation is coming at us, right? So how do we do that? Well, maybe we start to simplify our lives a little bit. And because you might have 2 good things to choose from, it's not that they're bad things, but even too many good things can be overwhelming. So it's just saying simplify. Okay, so what we're going to do is a little competition right now because we're talking about choices and decision making. Some of us, when we open a Hershey's Kiss, these weren't 4th of July. They're new. I think they're for the election, the red, white, and blue. That's what I was guessing. Okay, anyway, so sometimes we open a Hershey's Kiss. You might just take that. Did you know that you can do that? You can wrap it all the way around and it opens it. So you might choose that. I have seen some people, I have learned that if you hold on to this, and then you can take your fingernail and just kind of peel it. It just pops out. Okay, so you could choose that. And some people are just going to go for it. But what we're going to do right now, here, let me move this because no one can take credit for those. Okay, I'm going to have 2 of you come up. Again, please somebody volunteer for this. And we're going to have a little competition to see who could open the most Hershey's Kisses. And it's only for like 30 seconds. It's not very long. This can get really fun. And then you get to keep all the kisses that you open. Okay, Any takers? Okay, yeah, Amanda, I knew you'd come. Yep, and my friend, come on up. You two, come on up. And you can stand or you can kneel, whatever. Let's bring this closer over here. Let's bring it right to the middle. Is that good, Nick? Can you still see him here? We want to get this one on camera for sure, if that's okay. Okay, hold on. On your mark, I gotta get my watch. Get set. Hands behind the back. Go. Okay, cheer them on. Cheer on for both of them. We've got this. We've got this. You can keep doing this. We got this. Be a good cheerleader. Be that one. Give them all your good tones. Woo, woo, woo. Keep going. Keep going. You got this. Do it for the chocolate. You got this. You've got this. Keep going. Keep going. Keep about 15 more seconds. Keep going. You've got time. Keep going. Oh, they're doing good. Both of them. Wow. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Maybe. Okay, about 7 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Okay, count. How many of you have opened, Ryan? 12. Okay, give a round for Ryan. How many of you opened up, Amanda?
10.
10. Give a round for. Okay, Ryan, you totally win. You can have all the chocolates you want. Emily, do you want to? Oh, there's a garbage can right behind you as well. And we'll pass these.
All 10
Look,
at the same time.
you guys can take more. You can take more chocolates. This was related to that Lucy little clip, we were talking about the chocolates and unwrapping, rewrapping. Take all the goodness that you want. You probably don't need these. You can just throw them at your table, people. They'll eat them. You can take some unwrapped ones too. Okay. Thanks for being my guinea pig, Amanda. Yeah. It's fun to see people. I know Amanda grew up in the neighborhood that we lived in. She's my daughter's age, so it's been fun to see her. Okay, so you just made a decision. Okay, so I need to ask you, Amanda, what was your tactic to open those kisses? What did you choose to do? Anarchy. She's anarchy. You're like, I just went for it. Okay, and you actually did pretty good, huh? Yeah. What about you, Ryan? What tactic did you choose?
I grabbed several at a time.
How did you open them up?
Spend time reaching in.
Oh, so you're saying I opened them different, normally, but oh, interesting. Okay. I like to hear people's tactics and choices on what we do for future, so kind of fun. Okay, meet Popo. So in my line of work, the things I do, I get to hear stories from around the world, not always great stories, and sometimes there are fun stories. It's just of how different communities are doing and what's really going on. But I have to be careful who I give my attention to because they know that I have an audience of kids and they want me to promote their cause. And they're good causes. They're usually other nonprofits and things like that, but I can't really promote that in my line of work, if that makes sense. And so this organization I'm going to tell you about, I researched them, and it's going to really shock you who they are. They're called New Hope Ministry, and they're in Pakistan. And so I know there's no way they're going to be able to access, the connections and things that I have. And so I linked up efforts with them. It's been at least a good 8 years. And this story came about 6 years ago. And what they do is they go around Pakistan working very cautiously. They're a Christian organization over there, but they bring food boxes to people, usually the untouchables that have been outcasts of society. And in this food box is usually some rice. And if it's a good day, they'll be like a slice of mango. But they usually get lines, 100 people or more, something like that. And they're just good people, right, doing that. So this is the story of Popo that was sent to me a while back. And so Popo is in line to get his food box. And Popo comes up and gets his food box and takes off. No big deal, right? Not an uncommon thing. They just disappear. Next thing they know, Popo is back in line to get another food box. The rule is one food box because they will often run out, right? So they look down and they say, Popo, what are you doing back in line? And this is Popo's response. How did you recognize me? Popo had found some red lipstick and put it all over his face to disguise himself. And then they say, Popo, where is your first food box? And he says, I gave it to my dog. Popo, why did you give it to your dog? And he simply states, because he's part of my family too. They had a big decision to make, justice or mercy, right? How can we balance this? Justice would be, Popo, you're going to learn your lesson and you're going to go hungry for another week until we can get back here. Or they can show mercy and give another food box. They chose the second one and they gave Popo another food box, of course, with the lesson, this isn't going to happen again. But it just reminds me of our humanness, our nature, that sometimes we have decisions to make. Do we give people a do-over or not, right? And to choose that compassion side, and that's part of our humanity. So everything we've discussed today, to realize each situation's different, right? Sometimes there's not a right answer. You have to just choose with your gut and your heart and your head, right? Knowing what are we going to try? What discomfort zone are we going to push through right now? But that's just that sweet little story of Popo. Okay, I'll be honest. Step number 7, I really struggle with. So I don't know if I agree with it totally, even though I know it's science-based and true. But it says do more and buy less. I'm like, I don't agree with this one at all. But it has to do with our tendency to buy stuff, because it makes up maybe for, especially when we're angry. Don't make a decision when you're angry, because that can get you in a lot of trouble. But sometimes that's what happens, is when we're emotional or we're hurt or we are overwhelmed or overly stressed, we will buy something to help make up for that. I've earned this, I deserve this, or yeah, that will help me feel better, right? Something like that. But it's showing that instead of buying things, because it says when it feels good, there's a crash that follows after the purchase, whether it's like that guilt that sets in, or now you actually have to pay the bill, or where are you going to put that extra pair of shoes or something like that. But it's saying experiences, going out to movies and to dinner, will result in a more lasting happiness. And so that probably makes sense to everybody. I was teasing when I said, I don't agree with this. Yeah, go ahead, Catherine.
The very first time, about 4 years ago, our grandkids came for Christmas. The very first time we ever had them for Christmas, and they were older. And we were crazy. I have 3 daughters that don't have children, and we were crazy. They got everything. And my daughter-in-law said she was never coming back because it was so overwhelming. It was terrible. So they came back last Christmas. She said, my husband's not well, and she decided we need to come back. And my girls gave each one of those 3 kids an experience by themselves. So they did all sorts of things that they wanted to do. Not stuff we thought they'd do, like Nickel City and all the really fun things. My little grandson chose to go to lunch with one of his aunts and then play a video game, just him and her. And he's talked about that for the whole year. They talked about those experiences. Sorry for taking your...
No, I love that. That's beautiful.
It was just beautiful. They talked about what they're going to do. They're coming this year, and they're already talking about what do you think we're going to be able to do with our aunts.
I love that.
And it was was such a lesson to me.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think. Yeah, because we've run into that trap where I'm trying to buy love. Kids move out of the house. How can I convince them to come back and visit? And, things like that. Well, we're going to give dinner. Or we're going to, yeah. And so I think it's those experiences that have that lasting impression. I love that. No, I'm glad you shared that. Thank you. Okay, number 8, protect yourself from negativity. This one can be a little difficult because you can see here, emotions are contagious. What do you think that means? Emotion, you probably already know, right? When you are hanging out with a group, maybe you're a bunch of gossips, I don't know, you might find yourself starting to gossip too. It can be somebody who's really upset a lot. You might start feeling yourself getting upset even though it didn't even happen to you what they were upset about. You can start to get worked up. But because of that, you can also have the contagion of a calm. I always say share your calm. Somebody might need your calm, or share your positivity. Now, have you guys heard of the term toxic positivity? What, and we know that means. It means when you never talk about the hard stuff, so you never really get anything done because you're like, everything's always just rosy and we're so great. I think there is value in talking about the hard stuff, but also balancing it. And this is what went right. If we use that term, what went right? What is working well? And I think that can help balance out that negative emotion as well.